It's not the big game we all envisioned and hoped for earlier in the year, but Tennessee still has an opportunity to shock the nation and create absolute chaos in the college football playoff race as number 1 Georgia travels to take on number 18 Tennessee in Knoxville. So will Georgia continue their massive winning streak on their way to trying to get a three-peat, or will Tennessee pull off the massive upset? That is the question we're going to answer today. So welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, guys. We're so glad you could join us today. As always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including our expert picks, where we are on a 66-35 run against the spread. That's over 65% right now against the spread. We're offering those picks for one of the lowest prices in the country. It is a full year-long subscription, so you buy now, you get it through November of next year. No other site is offering that. No other site is hitting and winning at this type of rate with this type of record. No other site has beaten out the national handicappers like we have each of the last 5 years. So if you want to win big with us, win consistently for one of the best prices and best offers in the entire country, go sign up for our expert picks today. Again, down in the description below over on the gridironexpert.com. Become a member of our GE Nation. So let's take a look at this game. Number 1, Georgia. Number 18, Tennessee. I know back in the preseason, we all looked at this game and we go, look, this is probably going to be Georgia's toughest test of the year. And look, maybe it has playoff implications. Maybe if Tennessee lives up to the hype and kind of has another year like they had in 2022, this game could be the SEC East championship game. That obviously did not happen. Georgia's already won the East. Alabama's already won the West. The SEC championship is set. The only really big value this game has, right, is for Tennessee to play spoiler. You know, Volunteers aren't going anywhere. They're not playoff contenders. They're not title contenders. They probably not even going to make a New Year's Six bowl game. They just have an opportunity to play spoiler for Georgia and create some chaos in the college football playoff race. That's what they're hoping to do on Saturday. But it should be noted, Georgia has won 6 straight games in this series, including that 27-13 victory last year when Tennessee was the number 1 team in the country. Georgia took that spot right back. And they've won those 6 games, guys, by an average of 26.2 points per game. They haven't even been close. Not a single one decided by 1 possession. Will that change on Saturday? Well, you take a look at the offenses, right? We'll start with the Bulldogs, the 2-time reigning national champions, looking to make it 3 straight by the end of the year. Despite starting a new quarterback in Carson Beck, the Bulldogs are a well-oiled machine on offense. They're absolutely unbelievable, have not missed a beat. And keep in mind, guys, they beat a good Missouri team 2 weeks ago. They just dominated Ole Miss. Yes, granted, both of those were in Athens. That was a huge benefit to Georgia, but still, those were 2 big top 12 victories at the time, and Missouri now into the top 10. Makes that win look even better. This is a Georgia team, guys, averaging over 40 points per game, 324 passing yards per game, with a quarterback in Carson Beck that, again, first year as a starter, has already thrown for over 3,000 yards and 18 touchdowns. Again, doesn't even look like the bright light and the pressure has fazed him whatsoever. This is an offense that's 5th overall in the country with 505 yards per game. And on top of the electric passing attack they have, they're averaging over 180 rushing yards per game as well, led by Daijun Edwards. Also factor in, right, you got Carson Beck, you got Daijun Edwards, you got a strong offensive line, you're scoring at an alarming rate, you're efficient, this, that, and the other. Brock Bowers is back, right? He gets injured against Vanderbilt. All hope looks lost. Has a pretty speedy recovery, all things considered. He missed 3 weeks. One of those was a bye week. Missed 3 weeks and yet still remained Georgia's top pass catcher. He has 601 yards, 5 touchdowns on the year. He's going to be a major role, not just in this game against Tennessee, but whether or not Georgia can get back to the national championship. Tennessee, on the other hand, look, their offense is good. What would you expect under Josh Heupel? But they're wildly inconsistent. That's what I take from Tennessee this year. This is nowhere near the offense that we saw back in 2022, right? And we knew that wasn't going to be the case. Joe Milton is not Hendon Hooker. We know that. This is a Tennessee offense that's still averaging 32 points per game, 242 passing yards per game, 213 rushing yards per game. That ranks 9th in the country. So a top 10 rushing attack is pretty dang good. But you look at the offensive marks against quality opponents. Tennessee mustered just 7 points last week against Missouri, a dominating loss on the road in Columbia. They only mustered 20 points against Alabama, were shut out against the Crimson Tide in the second half. They mustered just 20 points at home against Texas A&M. Mustered only 16 points on the road against Florida. This is a team that against quality opponents can't put points on the board. It's great if you can do it against UConn and Virginia and Vanderbilt, who they've yet to play, but guys like that. But, when you're playing decent teams, they haven't looked the part. Not even close. And Joe Milton, guys, has not looked the part either. Milton has yet to have a 300-yard passing game all year long. He's hit 250 passing yards on the year just 4 times this season. And he's wildly inconsistent. Really not all that accurate either. This is a Tennessee offense that I think is going to have to rely heavily on the ground game. Going to have to rely heavily on a guy like Jalen Wright, who's rushed for nearly 850 yards on the year. But this is a team that guy only had 83 rushing yards last week against Missouri. Can they get something going against Georgia and a defense that, once again, is one of the best in the entire country? This is a Georgia team defensively that has not allowed over 21 points all year long. No team has scored over 21 points on Georgia. Missouri didn't do it. Ole Miss didn't do it. No one else has done it, right? Those were their toughest 2 tests so far this year, right? Were Missouri and Ole Miss, and they've yet to eclipse 3 touchdowns. 21 to the Tigers, only 17 for Ole Miss. This is a team that's allowing just 289 total yards per game and only 108 rushing yards per game. That's it. So you look at this, guys. They're stingy against the run. If they shut down the Tennessee run game, Joe Milton's got to do everything through the air. They've got to win this game through the air. And if you're a Tennessee fan, that probably doesn't make you feel all that good. Because unless you're going to score a couple touchdowns on 80-yard bombs from Joe Milton, he's not going to pick apart this Georgia secondary on short and intermediate routes. That's not going to happen. The Bulldogs secondary has 12 interceptions on the year. They're going to create pressure on Joe Milton. It could be a long day for the Volunteers offensively. Genuinely could. Tennessee, defensively, they allow 340 yards per game, 228 of those through the air, 113 on the ground. It's not bad, right? They're not horrible marks. But once again, against quality teams, against quality opponents, the defense has struggled. They allowed 530 yards last week to Missouri, 275 through the air, 255 on the ground. They got torched by the Tigers. They allowed 358 yards to Alabama, 220 through the air, 138 on the ground. They allowed 349 yards to Florida, 166 through the air, 183 on the ground. What do all those 3 things have in common? Yes, those are games that Tennessee lost, but those were also opponents that were balanced in those games. Tennessee was unable, in the games they lost there, to make their opponent one-dimensional, to take away one aspect of their offense. They couldn't slow down the Missouri run game and force Brady Cook to do it through the air. They couldn't shut down Jalen Milroe and his dual threat ability and force Alabama to win solely on the ground. They couldn't do anything against Florida, an absolutely abysmal performance down in the swamp. They've allowed teams to remain balanced, and thus it leads to a loss for Tennessee. If they are unable to force Georgia to become one-dimensional, and honestly, if you want that to be the case, you probably need to shut down Carson Beck and try to force the Bulldogs to win the game on the ground. Are they capable of that? 100%. But Beck and that passing attack are very, very difficult. If you can't do that, you're in trouble. The Volunteers defense does have 33 sacks on the year. That's something that's good. If they can find a way to generate pressure on Carson Beck, maybe they have a fighting chance in this one. Keep in mind, Carson Beck has played phenomenal for the Bulldogs, but he's going into a dangerous environment. Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, not an easy place to play, especially when it's going to be packed and sold out and loud. This gives me, last year Alabama vibes, except the stakes are not nearly as high as they were last October. But still, this is a young quarterback that is entering the toughest environment that he has ever played in his young career. No doubt about it. The crowd will be a factor in this one, needs to be a factor in this one. If you are a Tennessee fan, you've got to rattle this young quarterback, make him uncomfortable. He's had a cakewalk of a season all year long. Rattle him, and see that freshman, see that rookie mistake start to come out in the QB. That's how you win the game. So what's going to happen, guys? What's going to happen? Will Tennessee's defense, will the Tennessee crowd end up getting them the upset win and create chaos in the SEC, chaos in the playoff, or will Georgia once again continue to win? Will they continue to ride the momentum, make it, 27, 28 straight wins, make it 7 straight wins over Tennessee? Is that what's going to happen? Yes, it is. That's exactly what's going to happen. I can't pick against the Bulldogs here. I'd be crazy to pick against the Bulldogs. They're firing on all cylinders. They looked phenomenal against Missouri. They looked phenomenal against Ole Miss. They are a proven 2-time reigning national champions. No one, except for Auburn back early in the year, has really come remotely close to beating Georgia this year. They are, as we mentioned earlier, a well-oiled machine right now, and I just don't see Tennessee coming close to beating the Bulldogs. I just don't see it. They've got the new number 1 back on their name. Kirby Smart plans to retain it. They plan to win big in every single game that they have. And while I do think the crowd plays a role early on, and Georgia maybe gets off to a shaky start possibly, they will settle in. They will settle down. And they will slowly pick apart this Tennessee team and send them home with another loss. Georgia remains undefeated. They remain the number 1 team in the country. They win by double digits in Knoxville, and they continue to set up for what should be an epic SEC championship game against Alabama here in just a few weeks. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on the gridironexpert.com or on a 66-35 run against the spread. Do not miss out on some of the best picks in the entire country for one of the lowest prices in the country. Go sign up today to start winning big with us today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.